If you want to have a better short game, you need to listen to this. What I'm going to share with you is what I call the wrist matrix to play great short game shots from any lie or situation to lower your scores. So there's going to be quite a lot of information in this video, but we're going to try and talk you through how you would play any short game shot around the green to suit thick rough, divotty lies, bare lies, hitting it high or low, getting the ball to stop quickly or run by working on how our wrists work. So let's start with the wrist basic action I want to have. The setup and stuff that we're going to discuss is going to be the same for pretty much all these shots, apart from we're going to make a subtle change if we want the ball to go very high. Let's think of the wrists as in gears. So if I think of my wrists at the moment being there very neutral, and let's call that gear 0. If I cut my wrists different amounts, we're going to call them different gears. So we'll go 0, gear 1, gear 2, gear 3, gear 4, gear 5. And most of you should have about 5 different gears you could go through in wrist cock or radial deviation. Now when we go to play a standard pitch shot with a narrow stance ball in the center, weight favoring the lead side, we'd want a pretty natural wrist action like a normal shot. And this would be like a gear 3 to gear 3. The only thing is different with the pitch is that club face is going to point back to me like an underarm throw release. So the release is very much up this way and not rotated over. But let's talk about just the gears side of things really. So 3-3. So if I go and hit a shot here now and just try and go 3-3, that gets me a standard kind of pitch that will stop fairly quickly. Probably 90-95% air time to 5-10% roll time. And it's going to be a shot, depending on the loft of the club I have, will go a certain trajectory and be fairly responsive. The better players will have a bit of check on this shot, but it's going to be a nice little pitch, soft pitch from a good lie around the green. Now, if we were looking for a safer option or the lie was particularly a little bit barer, we would go then to a more what I would call gear 1-1. So you'd have the thumbs pointing more down, very little wrist action, try and get the pivot working to drive the speed and energy. We're not going to be able to hit this one too far, but this is very good for just clipping the ball off a kind of tightish lie and making sure we get a good contact, keeping the weight on again on the lead side and making sure that we get the ball kind of about 70% air time to 30% roll time, but literally just kind of what you would feel is the thumbs down and the body creating most of the speed. Now, they're the base 2 shots that I'd want any golfer to have. I would call that a chip pitch, and the first one I showed you, a pitch shot. We would also have a chip and run, where we'd stand the club up taller and have that 1-1 mechanism again. Now, where the good stuff comes from this video is how we can alternate these wrist gears for different lies. So imagine we were in a thick, rough lie, and we needed to make sure we had very little interference with the club and ball to get good contact. In that scenario, we might well want to have what we would call a 5-1. And that creates a steeper descent angle, and it means there's less grass interference between the club and ball. So we get really good purchase on the ball. The negative in this is the ball's going to come out quite low and run a lot. So if we want a ball to come out and run and chase up the green, a 5-1 is a good way of doing things. And again, you can vary the club to get different trajectories and different amounts of run. But a 5-1 is the key thing. So we'd want that 5-1 to be used mostly when we have a lot of rough or we were in like a divotty type situation. A 5-1 is ideal for that. Now, if we wanted the ball to come off a kind of tightish line and get more elevation than normal, what we would look to do then is go to a kind of a 1-5. And we get a lot of wrist overtaking, the club head overtaking the wrists, and we get a lot of use of the kind of bounce angle as it's kind of known, and that gets us a lot of immediate height, and the ball will stop a little bit quicker from those situations from a kind of tightish lie where we might not want to have a lot of wrist action. Now let's talk about the pluses and minuses and all this kind of stuff. When we're in thick rough and we want to use a 5-1, we said already the ball's going to come out quite low. So how we get it higher then is by opening the club face at address. That then will give us a bit more initial loft, but the ball's still going to come out a little bit runny because it's coming out of thick rough. So we have to basically plan what's the best option we can from each scenario and situation, and then think about what our wrists are going to do to try and get the best outcome in terms of delivering that club to make the best contact. We quite often look at it as creating a sharp edge, and that would be more your 5-1 type scenario. And when we create a sharp edge, if we hit the ground slightly before the golf ball, that is going to be curtains, because the club will dig in, and unless you've got loads of speed, you'll struggle to get that club to go through the round. So it's very much a case of we need to make sure we have our low point forward as we get that 5-1 type mechanism. And that's achieved by the weight being here at the start, and probably the weight going more that way in the transition and finishing more that way. When we're looking for the initial shot, you know, the 3-3, obviously we want the weight still to do that, but obviously we're releasing it more the underarm throw to get that kind of loft and spin on the club. And we also want to make sure we elevate so we don't gouge the ground too much, and we're able to hit it nice and low in the face to create that kind of low launch, high spinning shot that we want to achieve. So basically what I'm saying is we read the lie, we adapt the wrist mechanics for what we want. Standard shots 1-1 and 3-3. If we wanted a particularly high spinning shot around the green, it might be a 3-5. Okay? But if we've got like a divotty lie, it might well be a 5-1 with the ball even further back in the stance. But we know the ball's going to come out hot and run a lot, and we just need to know that. And as long as that suits the scenario we have, we play it that way. So basically, using the wrist the right way will allow you to adapt a little matrix in your mind to each different scenario and situation you want the ball to do in terms of either trajectory or to suit the lie to make your short game better. But remember, the standard one, just get good at the 1-1 and the 3-3, and that'll make you a better pitcher from a standard scenario situation, and just make small adaptations to allow for the lie and the scenario.